going down a little bit further, we have Beyond versus Nice. We've got Cyan versus Classic, Astrea versus Firefly, and Cure is waiting in the quarterfinals. Cure, one of the favorites to take the entire tournament. He has been on fire. Last night in the Africa Champions Cup, Cure even made it all the way to the finals of that tournament. He took down many a big name. He took down Dark to get to the grand finals, where he faced off against several of all players. So yeah, I do definitely favor him here tonight. We'll see how far he can go, as we have a different series upon us. Our next series, spawning in the top right hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing DragonKy Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing Team Arbidos. It is NightMare. And I still don't know what this is. There were people theorizing, is that like someone's face on like a penguin? Is it like a mountaintop with someone's face on it? It is a face. I don't if anyone understands this meme, then let me know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Alas, here we go. We are jumping into our next best of series. Hatch gas pool opener here from Dark. No pro block coming out from NightMare either, so Dark is able to take his natural base on time without too much issue, without too much problems. Oh boy, and as we get into this, it's a bit of a role reversal. Earlier I was talking about how Ender was the underdog, NightMare was the favorite. Here I would say that it's the opposite. NightMare is the underdog and Dark is the favorite. NightMare is looking to try and bounce back and try to punch up here. Oh, and take down a player of the caliber of Dark. Now, NightMare has done this before. NightMare, he has been able to overcome and take down players like Solar, take down players like Dark. NightMare, his peaks are big. They're huge. They're massive. But I do think that NightMare, he does lack a little bit of consistency when it comes to how often he can bring his A game to the table. But I want to believe that we can go the distance. I want to believe that we can potentially even go all the way to the ace match here in this series as well. I want all the games, Papi, all the games. Oh my god, we have a Robo Opener. Let's go. Robo Opener coming out from NightMare. Something that I didn't really get into I didn't get to talk about in Game 1 or in Series 1, but we can mention it here in Series 2, is that NightMare, he thrives in the mid game. He is not a late game player. He is not one to go into Sky Toss. He thrives here on Ground Toss, on 3-4 phase saturation. That's where he really does thrive. And even in the early game as well, you know, he can make use of Glaive Adepts, he can make use of Disruptor drops. We even saw that in his series against Ender, as he went for a very committed Glaive Adept opener, going 6-gate Glaive Adept on altitude. Likewise with this Robo Opener, I'm curious what this is going to be for. This should be for a Robotics Bay. We should be seeing a Bay thrown down momentarily. There it is. So this is going to be for Disruptor drops. Now, this is a really risky way to open up. I know, we saw Disruptors do a lot of damage in the last series, but a player like Dark is a lot more on top of reacting, on top of scouting as well, and being able to read this coming and prepare ahead of time. Of course, a lot of this is going to come down to the reactions. Also, going to come down to how aggressive Dark can be with his lings, because we're delaying so much. We're delaying Blink, we're delaying Charge, we're delaying +1. A lot of tech is being delayed here in favor of this Disruptor drop. That means that it's going to be a little bit harder here for NightMare to actually establish this third base. Dark has to piece this together. Yeah, 6 lings in production. Overlords are in position. The Prism is about to reveal itself, and this is the first piece of the puzzle. Now we know it's on the Stargate opener. Immediately, Roach Warren is thrown down. So this is to prepare for Glaives. To prepare for DTs. Spore is on the way as well. Dark knows it's not a Stargate, but he doesn't know it's a Robo. It is one of many possibilities here that NightMare can go for. As Dark is continuing Ling production, he's going to be cutting workers here at 40. A lot of Lings are coming out, where they are going to be threatening some of these bases. or at least containing NightMare to 2 bases, and that is all that Dark needs. Meanwhile, NightMare, he throws down another gateway. Going for that 3rd gateway. We'll see if he throws down a 4th gateway as well. Just waiting for the 2nd disruptor to come out, waiting for Warp Prism speed to kick in, and Gravitic Drive has completed, and now the disruptors are zooming across the map. As they zoom across the map, though, we get a full surround here on a lot of these gateway units. Dark going to be trading quite well here. The disruptors are forced to reveal themselves. Oh! Novas are going to be used up as well. These Lings trading so efficiently, so well. They get their hands on this Stargate, and I have to eat my words. Remember, I said that NightMare wasn't really a late game. Oh, I mean, we have a Roach Push coming up behind this, so NightMare, he throws down 2 Stargates. Is he going to be able to make use of them? The answer is no. Not at all. Oh. As Nova's only connected with Lings, this 3rd base is going to be going down. Dark, with that early Roach Warren, did go for that Roach Push. Does contain his opponent to 2 bases. He doesn't force the issue. He doesn't head towards that natural. Instead, Lair is on the way. Dark is content to back off and drone. And this is good and all. But this Skytoss transition is terrifying. Oh boy. Oh my. I was expecting a lot of things. I was even anticipating like Oracle production, but no. Phoenixes. Okay. This is what I mean. So my initial statements, it still stands true. About how NightMare doesn't really go Skytoss. And this isn't Skytoss. This is Phoenix Colossus. This is a PBT build. Or composition, I should say. Interesting. Yeah, I'll stick with interesting. We'll see how well it does. So far, it has been unscattered. So far, Dark hasn't been able to really read this. Ooh, 10 drones go down. Good connections out of NightMare. And can he recall? Up, up. Ooh, he barely. Oh my god, that was a massive pickoff. He barely couldn't recall. The Warp Prism with 2 disruptors inside does get sniped. This was a good moment. This was a good moment for NightMare, but that moment is stripped away from him by that Prism going down. See NightMare just getting ready back at home. Has he seen the Spire? He has not. Spire is thrown down. Obviously, mutas are not going to be a wise decision right now. The Phoenixes haven't been spotted yet. NightMare, he's been banking up the Phoenixes in the main base. Now they have been spotted. And now Dark knows not to make mutas and to make corruptors instead. Go. As the Phoenixes are pushing out across the map. Shutting down whatever they can. A couple of Overlords will fall. At the same time, Dark is pushing out with his Roach Army. Pushing into Colossus, into Shield Battery and Overcharge. We'll see how successful this is. We can see Dark trying to come in from behind, but the Overcharge is popped. Lings do get into the middle line. Probes are falling. Good connection from that Disruptor. 2 Roaches do go down. It looks like we're going to be able to hold on to the 3rd base at the same time. Dark heads towards that natural. Takes down a Stalker. Oh, but not much else. NightMare does defend. Back at home there, there's Corruptors on the way. Again, Dark, you already had a Spire, and the Corruptors are multi-purpose. They can take down the Phoenixes. They can also help against the Colossi as well. So making these Disruptors, it makes a lot of sense here for Dark. Plenty of sense. If he wants to, we can start taking towards a Hive and start working on Moon Lords. That is an option available to Dark. Can tech in that direction. Catching up in the chat. Why when I see Dark playing ZvP, it looks like Miyamaika? I mean, Miyamaika is a really big Dark fan, and it makes sense. It makes sense. I don't think I would go as far as to say they play similarly, but they don't have similar play styles, but they have similar like outlooks on life. You know, like they have similar drives or maybe goals in a game. I think goals in the game makes a lot of sense. So like disrupt their opponent, to make their opponent as uncomfortable as possible, to make the Protoss play to the beat of their own drum. I think that makes sense. I think I would definitely agree with that for both Miyamika and Dark. They enjoy to take the initiative in a series and take the initiative in a game. Unfortunately, I don't think Dark has. I've never seen him adopt the Hydra, the fast layer into Hydra build of Miyamika. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that, but maybe one day, maybe. The Corruptors have arrived. They do snipe a couple of these Phoenixes. As we can see, Dark trying to pull apart his opponent. He's going to dive into the main base. Does go for the Caustic Spray on that Nexus. At the same time, Dark is also going to be laying siege upon the fourth as well. NightMare being caught in a really tough position here. How does he split up his army? Oh, as the main Nexus does go down. Vials do connect with the main army here of NightMare. Pushing through the center of the map. Now, we do have a lot of disruptors. We have 6 disruptors, we have a Colossus, we have a lot of these Archons as well. The Archons are in the back line. Oh, big connection goes off. Another decent connection connects with only one of those roaches. But Dark, he's collapsing on this army. He's getting on top of everything. The Colossus goes down. Oh my god. Purification Novas have still been so good for NightMare. But Dark has the better economy. He has the base count. He's just been able to remax, rebuild, trade more efficiently over the course of the majority of this game. We just see NightMare not turning around. He wants to commit to this push. The Corruptors do keep NightMare busy. NightMare, he's going to back off. He's going to reposition. Making use of the high ground. Behind this Dark, he has his hive. Do we have any Vipers? Not yet. No Vipers yet. Well, we're going to gain access to them. Vipers would be a secure way to shut down these disruptors. For now, we're just working on Adrenal. Dark is already maxed out at this point as well. We can't really invest too heavily into Vipers. Corruptors are going to be going down. And not the most important Picos here for NightMare, but Picos nonetheless. He's going to be forced back to his fourth base. The far taking good position on top of this ramp. Up. Ooh. Not a bad connection here from NightMare. Now, the problem here is, I feel like if this was any other Protoss player, there we go. I was about to say we would transition to Skytoss. Fleet Beacon is thrown down. Skytoss is on the horizon. I do think it could have been thrown down earlier, but it's on the way nonetheless. There's a lot of Corruptors are being sniped. Dark was lacking the Ling Bane support for his Roach Ravager, but there we go. Ling Bane has arrived. Fleet Beacon is thrown down. Zealot Rabbi does get into a mineral line. He's going to get some drones. Handful of workers. See Dark just trying to find some more pickups here with his Corruptors. Does pull back the army for a moment. The Roaches, they dive on in. Do they get an Archon? They do not. Overcharge. Once again, just too good. Oh. As you do see Dark just pushing in towards that natural base. Bailings, they roll in towards it. No reaction! No! No reaction out of NightMare. 18 probes go down. The entire mineral line is gone. Who needs +2 melee, by the way? +1 was all that Dark did need. As we're taking into that Greater Spire, we're headed towards Broodlords. Greater Spire is on the way. NightMare going to be rotating around, going to be threatening the center base of Dark. Dark going for another Bailing run by. Speaking of that, that's a lot of Bailings. That's a lot of Bailings for Dark. He barely does crash into the natural base, gets into the middle line. 5 more probes do go down. NightMare's economy is in shambles, but his army still looking quite good. Still looking very solid. Meanwhile, throughout all this, NightMare was able to sneak out top left. This base has not been scouted. If it was, I'm sure Dark would have been there to do something about it. So we can see it's just gaining value over time. Dark, is he gonna check? Not quite. As he dives into the main, dives up the ramp in towards the fourth base. Bailey's a roll on past, and they're going for the connections on those Stalkers. Massive Purification Novas will go off on those Bailings. A very good fight out of NightMare. He's still losing probes though at that fourth. 8 probes go down. They did trade so efficiently. Now behind this, still no Broodlords. Meanwhile, NightMare, he's banking up those carriers. This is dangerous. Now, Dark does have a Spire, and he does have +3 attack. So it's not the worst thing in the world right now for these for these carriers to bank up. But the longer this goes on Scouter, the worse it is for Dark, because he needs to refine his army. He needs to transition into more of these Corruptors. Wait. Here we go. The carriers have been revealed. Novas will be connecting. Oh my god, once again, massive connections on those Ravagers. But there's still so much on the ground. Bailings are rolling past into the army. Ravagers are pushing on through. Biles are connecting. It's not enough, and Dark is linked. He's being cleaned up. And now Dark is in a lot of trouble. Dark doesn't have a bank. NightMare, has he done it? I mentioned it earlier that when NightMare is in form, when he is on fire, he can take down players like Solar. He can take down players like Dark. He's done it before in the past, and he's looking to do so again. Dark, he never found out about that additional base. Massive storm on those Corruptors. Transfuses are going to be able to keep everything alive. Good transfuses from Dark. Takes down one of those carriers, a second carrier. There's only one carrier left, and it will go down. But what about the ground army? Oh, NightMare trying to force his way through, but no, it's too much. The reinforcements kick in. Dark, he holds. He doesn't just hold, he annihilates the army. The carrier count has been reset. The Archons, the Disruptors. That was it. That push was supposed to end the game. That was supposed to be the push for NightMare. But it was actually the push for Dark. Oof. Not like this. Not like this. We can see NightMare getting in position back at home, but he barely has an army standing right now. He's down to less than half the army supply of Dark. It was a good effort. NightMare, he almost pulled it off. He was almost able to get away with taking it to Skytoss, almost able to get away with his top left-hand base as well. But alas, Dark with the run-bys, with the counterattacks, with the value that he was getting out of his Baling run-bys and Roach run-bys, it was all too much. All too much. Storms, they're okay. But NightMare loses his 4th base. The 5th still needs time. Not like this. Will it ever get scouted, by the way? If you look at the vision here, this is the only base that Dark hasn't checked, and you know, it's keeping NightMare in there. It's keeping him in. Boy. Here we go. Dark, he dives on the army. Massive storms are going to be going off on the Roaches, but it's not going to be enough. We need more than just a couple of storms. Oh, as Dark is busting on through. And there's nothing left. GG gets called. Dark will take game number 1. Whew. In a pretty close game. I'm not going to lie. was pretty close. NightMare almost getting away with, again, that sky toss transition. Almost getting away with that top left-hand base as well. In the end, just wasn't quite enough. Ooh, GG. GG, well played. And congratulations. Congratulations to Dark for winning that first game, but that was only game 1. This is the best of 3. There's at least one more game ahead of us. Let's go. Let's go. Meanwhile, as we wait for this game, I also wanted to mention, I kind of alluded to it on my stream earlier. I was laddering, I was streaming earlier. But there is another event that's going to begin in an hour. There is another event that's about to begin. And it is the Masters Coliseum. Masters Coliseum number 6. You may be wondering, the hell is a Masters Coliseum? Well, if you're familiar with World Team League, and if you're familiar with Kung Fu Cup, these two events, players have been accumulating points. They've been accumulating points over time in the Kung Fu Cups and in the World Team Leagues. And with those points, they have been seeded and invites have been sent out. There are invites for a big event. That event happens to be Masters Coliseum. So there are invites, but there are also qualifiers. There are also qualifiers for the tournament, and it is starting in 1 hour. Obviously, I could stick with ESL Open Cup Asia, and that would make sense for us to stick with it to cast the entire thing. But the reality is that Steadfast and Wardy are also casting ESL Open Cup Asia, and I'm pretty sure that if we don't cast Masters Coliseum, the qualifiers, then no one will. In English, at least. I think that if we don't jump over, then no one's going to jump over. So we're going to be sticking here with ESL Open Cup Asia for another hour, and then we will switch over into another qualifier, into another tournament, I should say. So just a heads up as we get into game 2. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Babylon, we have the South Korean Zerg player currently up 1-0 in this best of 3 series, representing CranKy Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left hand corner of Babylon, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing Team Arbidos. Putting in a lot of work in that last game, making it close. Looking to try and do it again here. Looking to try and force the ace match. It is NightMare. Go. In an ideal world, we could cast both. But we don't have the... We can't. In an ideal world, we would cast both ESL Open Cup Asia and the Masters Coliseum qualifiers. But, I mean, I guess technically we are, but... yeah, we do have to switch over at some point. I do plan on catching up. I do plan on casting the semis and the finals of ESL Open Cup Asia via replays later on in the week. We can have a replay cast. But it is unlikely that we'll be able to cast them live, unfortunately. It was a decision that we had to make. We do want to cover the Masters Coliseum if possible. Meanwhile, here we go. We're diving into this, and Dark is making a... oh. He's link flooding. Dark is making a lot of lings, and this is very early on. Likewise, NightMare, once again, 2 games in a row, he's going for a Robo Opener. This is very greedy. Delayed blink, delayed glaives, delayed upgrades in favor of disruptors. Meanwhile, Dark is making nothing but links. We're pulling off of gas at 100. We're cutting workers here at 19. And we are just straight up link flooding. This is Dark. This is Dark. He's one of the more aggressive Zerg players in the world. And he is willing to just spice things up like this in the middle of a series, whether it's against Terran, Zerg, or Protoss. He doesn't care who you are, what you are. The lings are arriving. They are hidden as well. NightMare does get a full wall up. Stalker is being pulled out of position by this Overlord. And here we go, Link Speed does kick in. Oh my god, we immediately have a recall, but up! Stalker goes down. Adept is going to be able to shade over to the other side of this wall, but the wall, how long can it hold on? How long will it stand? Lings have arrived. Behind this, Dark is droning. Oh boy, Dark was hoping to maybe try to catch this wall unprepared and unawares. But NightMare is holding. NightMare's got a secondary wall behind this, and yeah, he's able to hold on to his natural. And Dark is in a really rough position. Dark is droning heavily right now, but Dark doesn't have a Roach Warren, he doesn't have gas, he doesn't have a lair, it's pure Ling Queen. And against a Disruptor drop, NightMare, he's gonna have the time of his life. Oh boy. Now, to be fair, it's gonna take some time. Oh my. It's gonna take some time because it's not a Disruptor drop. I appreciate this. Okay, so a couple of things just happened. Now, a lot of resources were wasted. NightMare, his build is slowed down because he had to throw down a wall, and a secondary wall, and warp in and recall, and he had to react. Threw down some shield batteries. He had to respect the all-in from Dark. Because of that, the first Disruptor and the drop itself has been delayed, so we skip the Disruptors. If you don't know, 2 Disruptors do fill up a War Prism, 1 Colossus fills up a War Prism, so we're going to be going for a Colossus drop instead, just to try to hit in time and just to try to be as assertive as we can while we can. If we waited for 2 Disruptors, it would just be a little bit too long, and Dark could stabilize. So we're going for faster damage. As the Colossus has arrived, we can already see it swiping away at those Lings. Soon going to be swiping away at those drones. There we go. 1 drone already going to be going down. A second drone, a third drone as well. Oh god, the Prism is taking a lot of hits. Oh, the Prism is taking a lot of hits. Oh god, but the Prism is going to survive. 6 drones do go down. Not too bad. Not too bad from NightMare. Everything is alive. Dark just trying to contain his opponent here to 2 bases. NightMare taking up even further. He's setting up for a 2-base all-in. How many gateways? We got 3 gates on the way. We got 4 gates already done. That's math. That's 7 gates in total. Alongside Colossus Disruptors, Blink as well. NightMare, he doesn't care about a 3rd base. He doesn't want a 3rd base. He wants a 3rd game. He wants an ace match. Let's see if he can get it. We shall see. As the Colossus is trying to get a little bit more value, but so far the Queens are doing a great job at just keeping up with the Prism, keeping up with the Colossus. Only 6 drones have gone down. Would have been a lot worse. Arguably wanted or needed it to be a little bit worse. Oh. As NightMare is actually going for that 3rd base. Now I'm curious. He is making probes. He is oversaturated. He is going to main out over to that 3rd base. Okay, so despite the production, despite the tech, NightMare, he can be defensive. He doesn't have to push out. And we can see he's only moving out with the drop. He's staying back at home with everything else. He is not setting up for the all-in. Not anymore. Meanwhile, the Disruptors have arrived. How good the Nova is going to be. And we're going to be getting 2 Roaches. 1 Roach for each Nova. Not too bad. It's okay. It's value, definitely, for NightMare. He's still looking for a little bit more back at home. He's taking his Forge, taking his 3rd base, long distance mining. Oh, and here we go. This is what I was waiting for. I was waiting for the move out. NightMare working towards a very powerful push. A push that I assumed would be all in, but by no means is it. NightMare, he does have an economy behind this. He isn't committed. He can back off. He can take this. He can take this slow and steady. As he moves out, Dark moves in. Ling around by trying to push in towards that natural base. Nova going to be zoning away the army as well. We have 1 Nova in the chamber for NightMare. 5 probes are going to be going down. Dark trying to close the gap, trying to close the distance. It looks like he will get on top of one of those Colossi. Nova does go up. Meanwhile, Dark, he goes for the full surround. Good purification, Novas. But it looks like Dark may just barely have too much. Yeah, with the reinforcements trickling on in, Dark is going to get on top of everything. NightMare does hold on to his high-tech units. He holds on to his Colossus and Disruptors. But looking at the units lost tab here, did lose one Colossus in that attack, lost a lot of Stalkers, every single sentry. The best fight there from NightMare. Boy. Can he bounce back? I mean, with these Disruptors, he's getting a couple of Ravagers. One Ravager each. Again, pretty good pickoffs. We needed something more, Papi, as Dark is working towards Infestation, but he's working towards a Lunker Den, as he already has a Hydra Den. Oh boy. Do we need to go Hydra, Lurker, Viper? I don't think so, but we're working on it. We're getting there. Dark doesn't want a tunnel vision. Understandable. Doesn't want to tunnel vision too much and get caught with a low-tech army, with a mid-tier army. Is it feeling too confident in his ability to break this third base? And I don't blame him, you know, with shield batteries, overcharge, and disruptors, pushing into this base can be a difficult thing to do. So instead, Dark is going to just focus on taking bases, on droning, taking more bases, droning a little bit more. While Dark techs up. Still no Lurkers yet. I don't think we even have any Hydras. Yeah, we don't have any Hydras either, but there we go. 4 Hydras are in production. Upgrades are kicking in. Hive about to finish up. Once it finishes, we can get into Adrenal Glands. We can get into Lurker upgrades. There it is. Adaptive Talent's already on the way alongside Seismic Spines. Oh. Ooh, as we are gonna... Oh. Never mind. I was gonna say we are gonna get 4 drones, but I don't know if you heard that. The Queen here. Well, there was an explosion. There we go. This Queen here did end up getting a kill, and the Prism died alongside the Disruptor. So... oh, that was a pretty big loss for NightMare. He has to rebuild that War Prism, rebuild those Disruptors. Losing a Disruptor for 4 drones was not ideal here for NightMare, especially considering the current game state, especially considering that he was, you know, forced back earlier, and now Dark has map control. He maxes out. He's at 200 supply. NightMare, can he keep up? Dark's being knocked down. Again, it's one of those things where Dark, he wants to fight. Like, he wants to lose it. Like, there's a lot of roaches. A lot of these roaches are dead supply. It's just not efficient at all for Dark to hold on to them. So he wants to fight. He wants to lose these roaches. And he wants to replace those roaches with more lurkers. Oh my god. He's throwing down a wall of spores. We got the spore wall on the way. We got the lunkers being thrown down. We have vipers as well. Dark, he is drawing a line in the sand, saying, okay, this is my half. This is your half. And he's getting a, like, you know, one of the best anti-ground toss armies you can make here as a Zerg. Meanwhile, NightMare is none the wiser. Unaware. If he was aware, then I'm sure he'd be taking up into Sky Toss again. We'd be seeing a Fleet Beacon and another Stargate. Speaking of, it's a Stargate. Problem is, you can't make a Fleet Beacon without at least one Stargate, so NightMare, he's thinking about Sky Toss. It's still a ways off. And Dark, he sees the Stargate in production. He knows. And now is the time to make our move. Here we go Dark. He dives on top of those disruptors. Good connections on the Lings. A lot of Lings are going to be going down. Lurkers in range of at least some of the production and the gas geyser. Nothing amazing. Dark is forced back. We can see a Zealot run by taking down the hatchery here towards the south. Oh, hatchery is going to be going down. So far, so good for NightMare. Vipers have arrived. Can they avoid the feedbacks? Can they get on top of these disruptors? Here comes the Sky Toss. 2 more Stargates on the way. Fleet Beacon plus 1 air attack as well. Dark is going to confirm all of this with that Overseer. Gonna be able to dip on in. Gonna be able to dip on board. Here we go. As the Vipers are revealed, we have a Nidus on the way, so Dark can try to go for a bit of a backstab and break some of these bases here from behind. Likewise, carrier production has only just commenced, so we're still a ways off. Before we can really get into full-fledged Sky Toss. I love the contamination onto that Stargate. It's going to delay that carrier production. Meanwhile, we have a Lurker army here on the left-hand side. Novas go up! Ooh. Only 2 Lurkers will go down at the same time. Road Travager army pushing in towards the left-hand side as well. Dark trying to make some moves happen. And to make some of those moves happen. Good feedbacks, but oh my god, these Lurkers are getting so much done here. They were within range of the High Templar and the Disruptors. Meanwhile, the carriers have arrived. As they're arriving, 2 more Spires are thrown down. Dark is getting ready for that anti-Sky Toss army. There we have it. A couple of Adux do come in. 2 carriers go down. A 3rd carrier up. Oh, isn't sniped. NightMare barely even able to keep them alive. Yeah, we do have detection, we do have that revelation. Zealot Runby is going to be able to take down a base. Dark is getting in position with his Hydras. He's getting ready to deal with this. Our Novas are going up. We do get that last Colossus. And the problem is that the carrier count isn't at a high enough number where we can even fight these Hydras. Like, Hydras, they aren't the best anti-Sky Toss units, but they're good enough when we only have 3-4 carriers. So we now have our 3rd and 4th carrier joining the fray. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, the Hydra army pushes on forward. Do we have a storm? We do! Massive storms do go up. Oh my god. Insane storms on the Hydras. Likewise, storms as well over towards the north as they do push Dark back. I say push back, but Dark did kill that triangular 3rd base, and now he's going to be rotating over towards the now 4th base of NightMare. All these bases, a lot of the stack defense is going to go down. We can't quite get on top of the base. We're trying to, as we do yoink one of the carriers. Ooh. Big connection of those disruptors. 14 kills on it already. And we can see Dark is being forced back. He's being forced back by his opponent. Oh, we have to rebuild those Vipers. We do have the double Spire, but we don't even have any Spire upgrades right now. So Dark not actually able to make use of them. More swarms are thrown down. Dark unrelenting here with his composition. Just I refuse to make corruptors. And to be fair, like right now, it wouldn't be a good choice to make corruptors just because we don't have any upgrades. He's just hyper committed here to Hydra Lurker Viper instead. Yeah, not a bad composition, but we need time for those lurkers. There we go. They do morph in just in time. Lurkers, they have arrived. We're looking to dive on top of this army as well. Massive volleys go off. Colossus is exposed. Yoin comes in. Another carrier goes down. Really good stuff here at a Dark. As we get another abduction. Another carrier falls. Oh, this is a pretty good moment here for NightMare. He does land a massive connection on that Disruptor as well as the Storm. Oh my god. Takes down a big chunk of those lurkers. But Dark, he just remaxes. He just has so much money to work with. Such a solid foundation, such a solid economy available to him as well. Zealot Ramais are trying to do something about that, but Dark is able to keep up. He's able to remax, reposition. 1, 2, 3 lurkers are going to be going down. Big storm as well. Can we do much else? That is the question. As we can see, NightMare is kind of being zoned away from his own bases. Oof. As some of these disruptors are going to be going down. Some decent connections, but oh my god, the lurkers in the backline doing so much to the main army. We take down the Colossi, and now that's go time for Dark. He does push on forward. Not enough energy on these Vipers to do much else, but here come the reinforcements, and it looks like Dark has enough to break the army, to break the bases of NightMare. Across the map, the Zealots are doing a lot of damage. 7 drones are going to be going down. These Zealots doing a lot here for NightMare. Doing so much. But is it worth 2 bases? Is it worth 2 Nexi? As NightMare is down to only 2 bases mining. He has 1 mineral patch left in the natural and nothing left in the main. Zealots are doing what they can, but they're running into reinforcements. Dark can reinforce, NightMare cannot. GG gets called. As Dark does take the series 2-0, advancing on to the quarterfinals. GG. GG, well played. As Dark does take the series 2-0. Shout out to NightMare though, because NightMare definitely looked powerful in game 1, and here in game 2, things were really shaky. Things were really shaky, really back and forth. If you remember, Dark initially went for a Link Flood, didn't do a lot of damage, and then NightMare went for the Colossus drop, and it was okay, but like both players were struggling in their own ways, both players were hurting in their own ways. They made for a good series. Made for a good series in the end. GG, well played. As Dark does advance on forward. My condolences to NightMare. Again, he's a great player. He's amazing at what he does, but it's just such a shame that he faced off against Dark this early on. GG, as Dark is one of the favorites of the entire tournament. Meanwhile, he has an opponent ready and waiting. We're going to be following Dark into his next series, into Solar. Let's go.